In this video, we're going to talk about a concept in chipping that I think a lot of people just don't do, and it really costs them strokes around the green, makes their putt count a lot higher. I'm joined today by PGA Pro, Jerry Crowell, and we're at Goose Creek Golf Club in Jurupa Valley. If you want to learn to become a better chipper and make more up and downs and one putts and lower your scores, then by all means, keep watching. Hey, this is Steve from HitItLonger.com. I know, I'm on a journey to hit it longer and straighter off the tee all the way to the green. But now that we're here by the green, we're not going to make lower scores unless we can chip it close to the hole and set ourselves up for some one putts, because really the name of the game in scoring is how many one putts you can get on your card. Thanks so much again for joining us, Jerry. I want to show everybody a concept about chipping that I think it's really overlooked. I don't think a lot of, let's say, gurus, $500 an hour gurus, will really cover this idea. So, I ask people when I teach them, like, so how far away from the cup is a good chip for you? They're like, well, just getting it on the green. Getting it on the green, and well, you could be three putting every time from where you're just getting it on the green. All right, so I've got this medicine ball. It's 8 pounds, and you've probably seen this on some of my other videos, but I'm using this to show how I'm going to get the arms and wrists more quiet, and I'm going to get a lot more activity in the center of mass, the navel area, like this. So let me just show you how I would do this. I would just toss this thing. I can swing it back and forth, and that's one thing. You see how my knees and my ankles and my hips are rocking, and they're causing my torso to wind and unwind. And this is where I want to get all my power from in a chip shot, is all the big muscles, which it seems so opposite because the shot is so small. It just doesn't seem like we're going to need to activate this much muscle mass just to hit the ball 5 yards.
What Steve's talking about here is using the big muscles. And so what we've heard on other, teachers, on PGA Tour radio, on lots of things like that, videos where it's in your hands. Your hands are the only connection to the club. It's all in your hands. Well, I would say I definitely don't think so. I know Steve doesn't think so.
I know when you see one of those gurus and you're watching maybe a training video or something on Golf Channel, they're doing it, but they never discuss it. It's almost like they're assuming that you're just going to figure it out through osmosis or something. So what I would do with this medicine ball is I'll just swing it. I'm actually going to toss this thing, not far because it's not going to be that much power, but you'll see how my entire body and my weight shift. I'm just going to drop it right there. What I'll do here is now I'll hold this position. And you'll see that, I've got a little bit of heel action, I've got a little bit of weight shift, I've got a little bit of body turn. And here's the analogy, Jerry. This is what will make perfect sense to everybody watching, is I liken a chip shot to a horseshoe toss. Now, how would you toss a horseshoe? Remember, a horseshoe has got a little weight to it, a couple pounds of weight. It's not like as light as a golf ball. But we do not throw a horseshoe like this with our arm and wrist. You toss a horseshoe by stepping, planting the weight on the front foot and thrusting the hips forward, and what that's actually doing is torquing my arm around my shoulder for me. So I'm not actually even going to be flexing this muscle. It's going to be driven for me. The arm will be driven by the pelvis. I toss a horseshoe like this. And notice the finish is kind of the same, only facing forward instead of sideways. Heels off the ground, pelvis is forward. I'm basically doing just a sideways version of a horseshoe toss, so like that. And so essentially what I've done is I've put all the primary source of power down here in the hips and the weight shift and the torso turn, and it allows me to take the arms and the wrists out of the shot. To me, this is so much easier for distance control, trajectory control, but for the people at home, what it does, when you're able to put this into your chipping game, and of course, we could have a downhill chip where I only need to hit it 2 feet in the air, or 3 yards in the air, I'd still be doing it. Watch. It's just on a micro scale at this point. It's like, what would I do if I wanted to toss a horseshoe 3 feet? Like, let's say you're tossing a ball to a child. You're going to take a foam ball, and you've got a 2-year or 3-year-old here who barely knows, just learning how to catch. You know, you're going to toss it like this.
Yeah.
But what this does for the average golfer is it moves their low point in front of the ball.
Correct. If you use the hands and the small muscles in your hands and wrists and forearms for a chip shot, for a basic bump and run, these are like wild animals. They're hard to tame, these things. It's going to be hard to repeat a motion with these small muscles. This, obviously, you can see this rocking motion is much more repeatable and much more viable to get distance control.
And if you're just using, let me see this guy. So if you're just using the wrists and the arms only, you see, now look where that divot is consistently. That is just the formula for chunking it short. And then of course, you tell yourself not to take too much earth on the next one, and then you end up doing this and sculling it across the green. And there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. You go back and forth and it's really hard to find something in the middle. So instead, you see where my low point is compared to the ball, like that. And now if I'm moving the core and turning, watch where the low point is.
That's more just in front of the ball.
Just in front of the ball, and allows me to be pretty shallow too. So let's give it a try here. I'm going to chip over to this hole and see if I can knock it in on the first try. With Jerry's wedge, of course.
Nice.
Let's show one more time. This is your 58 degree, right? Okay. So you're going to see most of my power is going to come from driving the big muscles of the body. All right, let me hit one more.
When you have a wedge like this, the sand wedge at 52, they have bounce. The trail edge will tend to catch. That was very nice. Will tend to catch. Don't go in.
Don't go in.
Just the bounce hangs below the leading edge just enough to kind of scrape that grass just before you get to the golf ball. So you don't really want too much of a forward swing bottom with the chip shot like you would with the 4-iron, but it is still not way back behind it, because if you just use your hands, you can start falling way too far behind the level of the golf ball.
And you see how once I held my finish, you see my body position now. You look at my navel has turned 45 degrees. I've gotten the weight to the inside of the front toe to where there's actually a little bit of movement.
Correct.
In with
It's
this foot, this way.
Inversion of the right foot.
It's essentially a miniature version of the Austin pivot.
Yes. True.
In fact, I'm doing the Austin pivot going back as well, because that's what's triggering my wind up is that. You see the left knee coming to the middle. The hip action is triggering my torso wind up and then heading through. Just as if you were to take the medicine ball and not use any arms and wrists and heave it. So just like that, I've heaved the medicine ball. Look at the finish position I'm in. It's really perfect, ideal for hitting a chip, not chunking it, not thinning it, but just sweeping it perfectly, popping it up in the air, and starting to get a lot more control over your distance. When I'm doing this really well, it just feels like everything's now a piston from here.